All right, thank you for joining us, everyone. We're pleased to be joined by Kevin and his wife Taylor here, as well as Ross Atkins. We're going to start with some opening remarks from Ross and Kevin, and then we'll get into Q&A. So go ahead, Ross.
All right, thanks everyone for being here. Really excited to have another opportunity to be adding a new member to the organization. Very grateful for Kevin and Taylor deciding to come north of the border to Toronto. Again, just couldn't be more excited to have another opportunity to be adding a new member to this organization. We couldn't do that, obviously, without the support of Edward Rogers. Can't say enough about the support for us to become the best place to play in baseball and continue to push that vision forward that Mark Shapiro has obviously been a huge part of. Thank you to Rogers as well. Obviously, thank you to Brody Schofield, who worked very hard on this deal. Thank you for the communication, for your work towards this. Thanks to everyone in baseball operations. Most importantly, thank you to Kevin Gausman. We are exceptionally excited to have you here today. Thank you to Taylor and Sadie and Sutton for your support and deciding to come to this great country. It is going to embrace you. It already has. It will continue to do that. And about Kevin, I have a story that I'd like to share. My first year as an executive, Mark Shapiro shared a story with a group of us about an interaction he had with Pat Gillick. And Mark was asking him as a young executive what he looked for in professional players. And it was simple. His answer was dependable and reliable. That is what Kevin has been, and something that is exceptionally attractive to us. Along with one of the best secondary weapons in the game, a remarkable track record thus far as a professional, as a teammate, as a human being, and to be realizing his potential and then some at this point in his career just speaks to his desire to be better. So out with that, welcome to Toronto, welcome to Canada. We are very, very pleased to have you here, and I'll turn it over to Kevin.
Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of reiterate what Ross was saying. Obviously, thank you to Ross. Thank you to my agent, Brody Schofield, for getting this done. Everyone in the Rogers ownership group, Mark Shapiro, all the countless people that I'll get to meet in the front office that I haven't got to yet. I know there's a lot of people that go into making a decision like this. So just very thankful. Toronto's been a special place for us in the past, and made my debut there. And so, I'm excited to hopefully be ending my career at the same place that it started. And so I'm really excited about that. I'm excited about joining a great organization that has a great reputation. I got to go to the new player development center down in Dunedin, and wow, it's really impressive. And you can just kind of see the writing on the wall and what this organization is trying to do in the future and now. And so, I'm excited to get to know a lot of the young core players that they have, and, feel like we have everything we need now. And so, I've been a huge fan of the fan base from afar, and unfortunately been a part of some really good moments for them, not necessarily for me at the time being, the walk-off in 2016, but, I've seen Rogers Center at full capacity, and when the team is electric, the entire city is vibrant and really, behind the entire team. And so I'm really looking forward to that, and really looking forward to getting started.
Thank you, Kevin. We'll turn it over to the question and answer portion of the press conference. Just a reminder, one question and one follow-up, and then you can return to the back of the line. You can go ahead and raise your hands in the reactions window. We'll start here with Steve Simmons.
I hope you can hear me, because I always do this stuff wrong.
You're good.
Thank you. Kevin, you leave the most winning team in baseball, that with unfinished business, really. How difficult was it to leave the San Francisco Giants after the kind of year you just had there?
Yeah, obviously very difficult. I really enjoyed my time there. The last 2 years that I was there, unfortunately, I only spent one season there with the great fan base that they have in San Francisco, and their fans are some of the best in baseball. They're really locked in on the game, and it was great to have them in the stands this year. And I thought they had a lot to do with why we were so good. We were especially great at home. And I think that had something to do with it. But yeah, as for me not going back, it's a business, and I understand that. And, really wanted to come back, but at the same time, I understand, there's a lot of things that you can't control, but, now I'm just really excited about my future going forward with the Blue Jays and, going back to the AL East. It's a division that I spent a lot of time in early in my career, and I know how great of a division it is, playing the Yankees, playing, in Fenway against Boston, and now, with the team that Tampa's had the last couple of years, I truly believe it's the best division in baseball, and obviously in hitters' ballparks, but, it's an exciting time for me to go back there and take everything that I've learned over the last couple of years and go back into a division that I know very well.
Most people who escape the AL East aren't so willing to go back. What is it about the division, considering you have to pitch in Fenway, you've got to pitch in Yankee, Toronto's not a pitcher's park per se. That's a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little bit harder to keep the ball in the ballpark, when the ballpark's pretty small, and obviously the lineups are completely different, but who knows with the universal DH, how that is all going to go. And, it's one of those things that it's always been a tough place to pitch. And so, for me personally, it's more about, I just feel like I'm not the same pitcher that I used to be. And so, I have way more confidence going in there, knowing that, listen, you're going to give up home runs, but as long as it's there's not many guys on base, you're usually going to be all right.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Arden.
Hey, Kevin, congratulations, man. As you were kind of entering the free agency process, starting to talk to various clubs, talking to your family about, where you wanted to play, what were you looking for? What were some of the factors that were important to you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, one of the biggest factors for me, at this point in my career is I want to go somewhere and win. And, I want to win a championship. And that's really my goal now. Listen, I was on, the best team in baseball all year last year, and we had the best, winning season in franchise history, but didn't get the job done. So, for me, that kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. And, I'm hungry for that. And, as a player looking, on the other side and taking a step back, there's a lot of youth here, a lot of guys who are going to be here under team control for a long time, and very talented group too. So, I felt like out of all the other teams that were involved, I felt like this was the best place to go and win now and win in the future. And, after talking to Ross, he just kind of made it apparent that they were going to do everything they could to put a winning product on the field, and also, be in the player's corner, and, technology wise, anything that you need, they seem very open to making sure that happens. And I think the player development center in Dunedin is a product of that.
And if I could ask you to look back on your first time going through free agency a couple of years ago, obviously a pretty different scenario. You're coming off of not a great season. You were non-tendered. I mean, what are some of the biggest things that you believe helped you really turn things around and get yourself to where you are today, only 2 years later?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I put a lot of work in. I think quarantine for me kind of happened at a really good time, to be honest. I went into spring training, had a great spring, and then we got shut down, and I just felt like I needed to do everything I could to kind of stay in that spot. And so, I bought a mound and put a mound in my garage, and, did 1,000 dry throws, and, thought of every scenario in my mind that I could have to prepare myself for when we were going to start back up. But really more than anything, I just never stopped believing in myself and my ability. I always knew that I could be a really good starting pitcher in this game. just so happened 2019 was a rough year for me. I had some injuries and just couldn't kind of figure it out. And so, it came at a point in my career where it was kind of a big decision for any team, whether they were going to tender me a contract or not, and went to free agency. And, I'm very thankful to the Giants, that they were one of the teams that wanted me to start from the get-go. And, they gave me all of the information that I needed to go out and do well and kind of reestablish my market.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Keegan.
Hey, Kevin, thank you for your time with us. So when you look back at earlier in your career, which a lot of Jays fans would be familiar with, what are you doing better now? What are a couple of things that have really helped you turn into the pitcher you are today compared to being younger?
Oh man, I think it's a long list, to be honest. I think I'm overall just a lot smarter, know myself a little bit better, better mechanics, more repeatable mechanics. And I just feel like I'm trying not to be somebody that I'm not. I know I'm not going to be a high spin guy. I'm never going to throw a breaking ball more than 30% to a guy or to guys. And so, I think it took me a long time to realize that I'm not like everybody else. I have two really good pitches, and still trying to develop that slider. And it's been a pitch for me over the years that has kind of got me in some trouble. But I feel more confident in myself now than I ever have over my career. And so it's just about being really good at what you're great at. And so that's one of those things. It's just I'd say command wise, my command has gotten better, and I just have a better overall feel for who I am and what I need to do to have success.
What was it that allowed you to lean into trying to be yourself? Knowing that it's very tempting to chase spin rates and velocities. Was there a point or a person or a piece of advice you had that let you turn back into yourself?
Honestly, part of it happened when I was with Atlanta. When I got traded to Atlanta, they were kind of like, hey, we don't want you to throw down in the zone anymore. And, that was a big light bulb for me. And then going to the Reds, it was like, hey, we just want you to just throw a fastball split, and then when I signed with the Giants, it was, we want you to do just what you've been doing with the Reds as a reliever, but starting. And so it was, we want you to get as close to throwing, 50-50 on fastball and split as you can get. And, I think part of the reason that it worked out so well was the shortened season. It was almost like in my mind, it was like, well, if there's any time to try this and kind of see if it works, this is the perfect time. And so, I just took to it and kind of put all my coins in one bag and, tried to just listen to them, and it really paid off.
All right. Thank you again, Kevin.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ben.
Hey, Kevin. Thanks for the time. There aren't a ton of baseball players from the state of Colorado, and you're obviously one of them. You posted on Instagram before about Roy Halladay and what he meant to you growing up. Joining the Blue Jays, obviously a team that he played for a long time. I'm wondering what you think about playing for the team that Halladay played for, and your kind of relationship watching him from afar.
Yeah. So, obviously I grew up a huge Roy Halladay fan, and, I don't know how many starts I've watched of his over the career, but it seemed like anytime he was pitching, I made sure to try to watch. And, me and my dad watched his starts, and we'd talk about pitching, and, just his ability to make a ball move was, incredible. And so being able to watch him do what he did in Toronto, and then really, over his whole career, really going to Philly as well. I was always a huge fan of him, not just on the field, but just the way that he carries himself, kind of that even keeled. And that's what I've always tried to be, at least in my big league career, is not try to show too much emotion, high or low. And, really just try to kind of be that consistent, whether I'm having a bad day or a good day, you're not going to know the difference. And so, I think watching Roy for as long as I did definitely has something to do with that. But obviously very honored to now be wearing the same threads that he wore. And, I'll be wearing his number, not 32, obviously, because it's retired, but I'll be wearing 34, this next season and going forward. And, anytime I put on that jersey, I really think about him every time that I do. And so, it means a lot to me, and, I don't take that for granted. That's for sure.
For sure. And if I could follow up with Ross, just wondering, it's been reported that you guys tried to acquire Kevin in the past. I'm wondering if you can kind of detail when you first started to try to acquire him.
Well, that would probably go back to my days prior to Toronto. That's in all seriousness, he's obviously been a very successful pitcher his entire baseball career, and I think the Toronto focus was 3 years ago that began, and continued over the last several years as we've continued to watch his progress. And the dependability, the reliability that I spoke of has always resonated. His desire to improve, as you've heard him communicate and articulate so well, has always resonated with us as well.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Rob.
Hey, Kevin, congratulations on the deal. You alluded to it in an answer with Arden earlier, but from being out there in San Francisco and in the National League, how much were you aware of what was happening in Toronto, and how much was what was happening here appealing to you when you were coming down and making your decision?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, it's kind of hard to follow. Being out on the West Coast, it's just a little harder to follow what's going on in the AL East. But obviously, I knew just from afar, I knew that they had a very talented group. It was just a matter of putting it together. And, obviously you saw what Robbie Ray did last year with them, being able to, win the Cy Young, Steven Matz too, a lot of it, when it got close to it, talking to some people about Pete Walker, great reputation, been there for a long time. The more that it got to kind of making a decision, it was doing more research and finding out more about Toronto, and really and we had a Zoom meeting with Ross and Shannon, one of their family directors, and they really kind of blew us away, honestly, with how they run the organization, and their family first mentality, which is huge. I have 2 kids now, and so that's something you definitely have to think of. It's not just me going to another country now. It's the 3 of them too. And so, really it was, like I said, I knew that they were talented. It was just a matter of, learning more about the organization.
Good, thanks. Question for Ross, if I may, Ross. Obviously you're familiar with Kevin's work, and he had a lot of appeal to you, but when you consider what the things that have happened with the organization, with new pitchers coming in, what upside do you see with Kevin going forward?
Yeah, a great deal. I'm a huge fan of the development of pitching, the progress of pitching. I think we as an organization feel as though those that stay on the mound end up getting better and better. As it relates to upside, I think that turns into the performance that Kevin was speaking of, whether it's usage of fastball split, the effectiveness to individual hitters. I think as professional pitchers like Kevin and like Jose Barrios mature, it turns into a lot more winning opportunities for teams, and the impact that pitchers like Kevin can have on an organization beyond the scope of winning when they're on the mound is massive. Will be massive for the development of Alek Manoah and for Nate Pearson and many others. So I can't say enough about what I personally feel it takes to be a starting pitcher in the major leagues and do it year in and year out. I can't, I think it's one of the hardest things to do in the game. Everyone, talks about the hardest thing to do in sport being hitting. And I could be on that side of the argument too, but the reliability and dependability of starting pitching is a phenomenal accomplishment in our view.
Thanks, Ross.
All right, Rob.
Go ahead, Ethan.
Hey, Kevin, congratulations. And thanks so much for doing this. You're a bit of a unique pitcher in the sense that you throw a splitter, which is a bit of a specialty pitch and not a pitch that everyone can throw. I'm curious if you can kind of explain the origin of that pitch and why it's so important to your success.
Yeah, so pretty much I couldn't throw a changeup. And so, my JV pitching coach in high school, was working with me on a bullpen, trying to get me to throw a changeup. And I just couldn't figure it out. And he kind of was like, hey, try this grip. And, it's not a true split. It's kind of a fosh in between split and a normal changeup. And, it just kind of took to me naturally. Now it took me a long time to really kind of finesse it and kind of figure out what I needed to do with it for it to have success. And, to be honest, it gets better and better every year. And so, over my career, it's just continued to get better and my feel for it gets better. And, it's a huge pitch for me. And, it took me a long time to really realize how big of a pitch it is for me. And, but I'm definitely, glad that Chris Baum, my coach, showed it to me all those years ago.
And you mentioned earlier just about Pete Walker and Robbie Ray, and there are some similarities between you guys in the sense that you both really rely on two major pitches. I'm curious if, from afar, if you saw how Robbie Ray has grown as a pitcher in Toronto and obviously having his Cy Young season, how much that whole situation influenced your decision to come to Toronto.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, just first and foremost, when you have a very well-respected pitching coach, you always you can always kind of guarantee that they're going to be in your corner and they're going to be able to help you out with anything that arises during the season. Whether it's a mechanical adjustment. And one thing about Robbie that you read him talk about and Pete talk about is kind of helping him get into his turn a little bit, and it just kind of allowed him to stay over the rubber a little bit longer and caused him to stay in the strike zone a lot more and throw more strikes. And, his slider is such an effective pitch that, if he can get 2 strikes on a guy, he's got a really good chance to strike him out. And so, for me, I'm the exact same way. I'm just, I just don't throw a slider, it's a split for me. And so obviously I'm right-handed too, but I just had a lot of confidence in the more people that I asked about Pete, the more affirmation that I got that, he's legitimate and that it would be a great move going forward working with him.
All right. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Caitlin.
Hey, Kevin, thank you for your time. You mentioned earlier about the Blue Jays wanting to join them because you think they're a winning organization, and just beyond them coming off a 91-win season, what else kind of have you heard and seen about this organization that convinces you that, they are going to be contenders in the AL East, which is obviously, like you said, a very competitive division?
Yeah, well, I think, if you look at the Barrios extension, bringing in a guy who's, had his entire career in the American League, a very great human being from what I hear, first and foremost, great pitcher. I'm really looking forward to working with him, getting to know him, but more than anything, it's just the willingness for the organization to do everything they can to get the most out of their players, to develop their players, because you're not always going to be able to go out and get, the best, 3 free agents every offseason. You got to be able to develop your players. And, if you look at the young pitchers that they have, Manoah and Pearson and, just all those young pieces coming back, learning and getting better. And, I just felt like it was, a prime place that, was going to win for the near future and also, a couple years down the road, because they do have team control on a lot of those guys. And so, and they just seem hungry. They seem like a team that wants to win, and like it seems like all the guys like those big moments. They don't shy away from them, and part of that is probably their pedigree. Having that good DNA, and so for me, it just kind of made sense. The closer it got to decision time, it was all right. This is the team that I think I'm going to win, the most with, and so I'm super excited to get to know all those guys.
Great. And if I could just ask like a follow-up, just specifically on the rotation and who you'll be pitching with, you mentioned Manoa and Barrios and Hyun-jin, Ryu and Pearson and all those guys. I mean, what are the ways in which that group will complement you as a pitcher, and how will you kind of complement them as the style of pitcher that you are?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not trying to change any of them, obviously. A lot of these guys do stuff exceptionally well. The arm that Pearson has, that's just a natural ability, and you can't teach that, and you honestly don't want to really change it, And so I'm just there to, help them. I feel like I've been through a lot in this game, good and bad. And so, if they ever need any advice or talking pitching, like I love just sitting around talking pitching. And so I'm looking forward to, honestly learning from those guys, because all those guys spin the ball really well. And that's something that, I've never really been exceptionally well at. And so I'm looking forward to, picking their brains and learning from them, and learning from Ryu. He's a veteran guy who I really respect a lot. And, he's left-handed, but obviously, pitching is pitching. And so I'm looking forward to talking with him. And, I think a lot of those guys are sinker slider guys. And, I'm a fastball up, split down in the zone guy. And so I think we would really play off of each other really well. You think about a 3-4 game series, you're going to get a lot of different looks on every single starter that's starting one of those 4 games. And so, the best teams that I've been on, it seems like every guy is different every single day. And so I'm really excited about that.
Great. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
Thanks. Welcome, Kevin, and congratulations. It's been a while since you were in the AL East, and the team is almost unrecognizable from when you were in Baltimore. But is there anyone here who well, anyone you're especially close to and looking forward to playing with from that perspective?
No, I don't know anybody, obviously I've played against George Springer over my career and really respect him. Looking forward to not having to face him. And so, it's, but it's a lot of young guys and a lot of guys who are kind of still trying to get their feet wet in the big leagues. And, even if you look around the division, there's not many guys, around the division that are even still there. And so, I'm just looking forward to coming in there and, bringing in the experience that I do have. And like I said, helping in any way that I can to some of these young guys, but, taking the ball every 5 days and doing everything I can to win games for the Blue Jays.
And you mentioned before about just falling short with the Giants this past season, with 107 wins and wanting to come here and win a championship. Is there anything, I mean, it's only been a month, but is there anything you take away from having a season like that and then going out in the first round, other than, they just had a better 5 games than you did?
Well, it's tough. It's, I think it's unfortunate that we had to play, I thought the other best team in baseball for the majority of the year. But that's the way baseball is. And so it's the first time they've ever played each other in the postseason. First time 2 105 win teams have played each other in the postseason. So it was really exciting. And I mean, it was great baseball from game 1 to game 5. It was really exciting. And listen, we lost game 5 2-1. And so and it took them scoring a run in the 9th inning to go up 2-1. And, they had to bring in Max Scherzer to shut the door for them. And so, it really took everything out of them for them to beat us. And, it was, for us, that was the World Series, and it was unfortunate that we lost. We would have loved to have gone on and felt like we matched up really good with just about any team. And, thought we really had something special there to maybe make a run at it. But, it is what it is. And sometimes that happens. But, now I'm just looking forward to the next chapter and hopefully, winning the division and winning the championship in Toronto.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Matt.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks a lot for doing this. I just wanted to, you referenced earlier just maybe having some initial interest about maybe returning to the Giants. I was just wondering if they were part of the consideration when it came down to making a final decision, and if you leave there with sort of any favorite memories from those 2 seasons.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously lots of memories. First and foremost, getting to play with Buster for his last season. I grew up a Giants fan. And so, being able to be the last pitcher that he caught is something that, really resonates for me. It's kind of crazy for me because, I played with him, but I was still a fan of his. And so, being able to see him, at the level of play that he had last year too, on top of it, was really fun. Listen, it was a great group of guys and a really good, well-ran organization. And, I wish them nothing but the best, but, going forward, just focused on, trying to do everything I can for the city of Toronto and for the Blue Jays. And, really just kind of looking forward to that.
If I could just a quick follow-up for that group, how do you feel like that group that they have coming back is set up to do going forward, especially with Logan Webb maybe looking like he's going to be taking up the mantle, sort of to lead that rotation now?
Yeah, I mean, I think they brought it back, pretty much the same team, and so I think all those guys are going to have a lot of success for a long time, and I hope they do. I think Logan Webb is, one of the best young pitchers in baseball. And, you saw what he was able to do his last 20 starts last year. I don't think he lost the game in his last 22 starts. And so to even just do that is incredible, but to also, go deep into the games like he did. And really some of the biggest games of the year, he pitched his best games. And so, I'm really good friends with Logan. And so, I wish him nothing but the best. I think he's has a really bright future and, has all the talent in the world to be able to do whatever he wants to do on a pitching mound. And so, I'll definitely be watching.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ian.
Hey, Kevin. Thanks for this. Congratulations on the deal. I wonder, to what extent, with a potential lockout coming, to what extent were you motivated to get a deal done before that lockout rather than maybe waiting until the kind of scramble that might happen afterwards?
Yeah, to be honest, it really wasn't much of a thought for me. It was just kind of a matter of when stuff would happen. If it happened after the lockout and talking with my wife, it was like, hey, we might not sign somewhere until February. Like, we just got to prepare ourselves for that. And we really were prepared for that. It just so happened that, over the last week, things just happened really fast, and that's just kind of the way things, shook out to happen. We didn't really plan on it happening like that, but, like I said, obviously really excited about, being the newest member of the Blue Jays and, joining this great organization and really getting to know Toronto more on a personal, base as opposed to just as a visiting player.
And you alluded to it in your intro, but I wonder if you could cast your mind back to May 2013 when you took a major league mound for the first time. What do you remember about that? What kind of stands out, and what do you think it's going to be like when you come back to the stadium as a home player? And what are those memories like from debuting at Rogers Center?
Oh man, I just remember being so nervous the whole day. And my locker was right next to the TV, and the TV was just like talking about me the whole time, like making my debut. And so made me even more nervous. But, now obviously, I'm a little bit more seasoned than I was then, and kind of know what to expect, and I'll be on the opposite side of the field. But yeah, a great memory for me. I think I did everything you can possibly do in that one game. I even think I balked. Like I hit a guy, walked a guy, struck out a guy, gave up a home run. I remember picking over to first and getting booed. And that was kind of my first, like, wow, there's a lot of people booing me right now. This is like kind of like my big league moment. And so, looking forward to, like I said, I've seen Rogers Center, fully packed when the team is, the best in the division. And, I'm really looking forward to that atmosphere and being on the other side of it. I really respect the fan base and the fact that there's one team for the whole country. That's something that I think has always been really appealing and really unique situation. And, they really love their players there. And so, I'm looking forward to being on the other side of that.
I think that the last Blue Jays free agent to debut here was Josh Donaldson. So if your tenure here is as good as his, you're in good stead. So,
That's right.
Thank you, Kevin. All the best.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Shai.
Hey, Kevin. Congratulations to both of you, first off. I'm just wondering if you can describe a little bit what some of your thinking was before the free agency period opened, where you kind of expected the Blue Jays to fit into your slate of options, and then maybe describe a little bit the process of getting you to a yes and what might have allowed you to finally get to the yes there.
Yeah. So, to be honest, I had a feeling that, Ross was going to call again, even though he might have not wanted to, but, we almost reached a deal 2 years ago and even last year too. And so, it was kind of a matter of, I think they're going to call again. And so, then it was kind of talking with Taylor, my wife, and figuring out, because it is a big decision, going to another country. And so it was kind of, we started that dialogue of, hey, what does that look like? Where would we live? What's the, we'd all have to get passports, like, just like little things like that you don't really think of with any other team. And, the more we kind of looked into it, I remember being in spring last year when all the pictures leaked of their player development center in Dunedin, and remember thinking like, wow, the place looks really nice. And so in the back of my mind, I knew that they had redone their spring training facility. And, like I said earlier, just the players that are there was really exciting, and felt like the organization was at a point where, they were going to start going in a different direction maybe. And what that looks like, I don't know. And, maybe we'll be a part of that. And then, after talking with Ross, we set up a Zoom and really, like I said, they kind of blew me away with everything they do for the families, bending backwards for the families and the kids of the players, and, really just everything first class. And then just asking around, talking to different people about their experience playing with the Blue Jays. And, one common denominator was that everybody loved their time with the Blue Jays. And so, really from that going forward, it was, asking guys specifically about Pete Walker and what to expect with him, and, how much they thought he helped them. And so really all those kind of building blocks coming together, then it was just a matter of us kind of working towards a deal. And, like I've said a bunch of times, I'm just super, super thankful for Ross and everybody that it took to get this deal done. And I'm just super excited to get started.
Thanks for that detailed answer. Appreciate it. Ross, Can you just detail a little bit how the process played out for you. You know, obviously Robbie Ray was in the mix, and the agreements between the two pitchers happened relatively quickly. Can you describe sort of how those tracks operated for you and got you guys to the commitment for Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't wait to call Brody on day one of free agency about Kevin, and obviously we've talked for a long time about him, and we did come close a couple of times prior to today. So, and a shout out to Robbie Ray. He's one of the reasons that Kevin is. I don't want to speak for him, but I would imagine Robbie had a lot to do with certainly from a winning perspective, the impact that he had on the organization. Where we are sitting today, as I would imagine, influenced others and their potential of being attracted to come here. So, but our process with Kevin was a smooth one, and never easy to close a deal, but very clean lines of communication. Really, for us, we were as blown away with our interaction with Kevin and Taylor as we talked about the potential relationship. So, very fortunate to be here today.
All right. Thanks, Ross.
All right, Shai.
Go ahead, Mitch.
Hey, Kevin, thanks for the time and congrats on the contract. You mentioned a few questions ago about the importance of kind of talking to guys about the organization and about Pete. Was there any one guy or one piece of advice or review that kind of stuck out for you?
I played with Steve Pierce, and so Ross told me a story about, when they traded him, how he was, a little upset because he loved his time so much in Toronto. And so, my wife talked with his wife, and, Dominic Leone, who I played with last year, played with the Blue Jays. And so, those people just kind of added to the already, outstanding reputation that, everybody within the organization has. And so, just those two guys, they weren't the only people, but just those two guys, kind of put the nail in the coffin and just kind of reaffirmed everything that I felt, I saw and heard over the Zoom call.
And you mentioned earlier about pitching to Buster, and it sounds like you've already had a chance to meet Danny Jansen. When you throw a splitter, it's obviously going to be in the dirt a little bit. Is the connection with the catcher, that battery, extra important for you?
Yeah, I pitch up in the zone a lot too, and so it's about talking to each other about what setup works best. Some guys like when guys don't set up high in the zone, and I like when guys are kind of in between. And so, that's one thing that we'll communicate over time and get to know each other. But yeah, I got to meet him and Reese the other day down in Florida. And so, super excited to kind of start that battery mate relationship with them. And just, I love talking pitching. And so, I love talking to the catchers and picking their brain about what they're thinking. And, but yeah, it's a big, throwing splits down in the zone is a big pitch for me. And so, you definitely love when guys can block the ball well. And I felt like, the two catchers that I had last year were really good at that. And, a big reason why, guys didn't take the extra base against me was, because they were so good at blocking it. And so, I don't really know those guys that much on a personal level, but looking forward to kind of creating that relationship and making it a good one.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Hazel.
Hi, Kevin. Congratulations to you and congratulations to Taylor and to Sadie and Sutton as well. I'm curious, as a family with two young children and making this move, what were some of the things that were important to you and Taylor, and maybe some of the questions that you had about moving your family to Toronto?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it's about, the travel and, traveling into Toronto, where the airport is, all those little things that you maybe don't think of, having to go through customs and, any way that we can expedite that, and after talking to Shannon, the family advisor for the Blue Jays, she just kind of reiterated that, they make it as easy as they can for the families and for our wives and kids. And, but not just that, but, everything that they have at the stadium. I think last season they let, a lot of the players that opened up on the road. They let the families come in and have an opening day at home. The kids could run around the ballpark, kind of get some energy out. Just those little things. It kind of seemed like they did everything they could to make sure that the families were happy. And then, I think in return to that, the players are happy. It's happy wife, happy life. And so, you keep those people happy. You're usually going to keep everybody else happy. And it seems like there's a great, connection of communication, and it just seemed like they're going to do everything they can to make sure it's a first class, experience for everyone.
And just quickly, coming off my colleague Shai's question for you, I'm curious what the process was like for you and your family going through free agency again. Was it much more involved than you thought? Did you delve into each organization's analytics and philosophies a lot more? Did you feel like you had to do a lot more homework, I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah. I mean, definitely this time around, had to do a little bit more, learn more about the organizations, and kind of do our research. And, it was one of those things. It just felt like the more we did research about Toronto and the individuals that we were interacting with, there was good feedback. And so really, at the end of the day, it kind of made it an easy decision. And, like I've said a bunch of times, when we had the Zoom meeting, it was, really just kind of reiterated that going to Toronto is something that we could do for our family, and that would be, a good decision, and that they're going to do whatever they can to make it easy for us.
Thank you for your time, and welcome to your family once again.
Thank you.
We'll take our last question here from Julia.
Hey, Kevin, thank you for your time. You mentioned being close with Logan Webb, and you're obviously joining a clubhouse with a lot of young guys. And the Blue Jays do value mentorship a lot and good clubhouse relationships. How important is that to you, and how do you view that aspect of the long MLB season?
Yeah, I think it's one of the most important things you can have on a team is camaraderie, and feeling like each guy is in your corner. And one thing I've always strived to do is make sure I watch every starter's bullpen, and that's just my way of letting them know that, I'm in it with them. And, whether I necessarily have something for them every day is probably not, I'm not going to have something for them every day, but, if it's the one time out of the month that they're throwing a bullpen and they kind of feel something, maybe I see something they're doing different. And I just think the more eyes that you can have on yourself as a pitcher, and the more people that you can have in your corner, feeling like they're pulling towards the same ultimate goal, which is winning games and winning a championship, the better prepared you're going to be to go out and have success. And then, it makes it a lot easier, for when you're going through the tough times, when you have, 4 guys in there that are, have your back and really, and I just try to pump them up with confidence, honestly, and watch their bullpens and, make sure they know how good they are. And, just try to be as good of a teammate as I can. And, there's not many things you can control in this game, and effort is one of them. And so, I really try to be there for the guys that I play with, and make sure they know that, I'm going to be there in their corner for them. And, if something happens, I'm going to be in the ring with them. And, I think that's one of the most important things you can do.
Thank you so much. And then Ross, just for you, knowing how much the Blue Jays value mentorship and good clubhouse relationships, what do you expect Kevin will bring, especially to guys like Alec and Nate?
Yeah, I mean, I think his experiences first and foremost. His character is, his reputation is as strong as they come in baseball. So, all that we would ever ask is for him to be himself, and that will be more than enough. I think those interactions happen organically. As Kevin alluded to, one of the beautiful things we have about that exists in baseball is we have time. So much time together. So over the course of a long 162 game season, and hopefully a lot of games after that in October, obviously spring training, and over years, and these guys end up training together. So there is no doubt in my mind that his impact will be powerful and positive. Thanks, Julia. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Taylor, for joining as well. And thank you, Ross.